once again, welcome along to this final instalment of our Iplicit Unpacked webinar series. We will look at tracking projects with precision within Iplicit. My name's Tom McEntee, one of the sales team here at Eureka Solutions, and joined by Rory MacCann, who is one of our solution consultants here at Eureka, who will take you through the demo aspect of today's session. Just wait for the slide to change. So as I said, this is the final instalment actually of our getting to know Iplicit series, Iplicit Unpacked. So we've already covered quite a lot of ground. So we've covered the likes of multi-entity consolidation, reporting and getting drillable and flexible insights from Iplicit, looking at both the sales and purchasing journey within Iplicit. And this kind of completes the set of webinars that we have been doing over the last few weeks and months for Iplicit. So by all means, if you want to revisit any of the ground that we've already went over in previous webinars that you may not been able to attend, or anything on the screen looks like something that could help and going forward, then please do reach out. We're more than happy to share those with you and even go over some of the functionality that's already covered. But today's webinar, we're going to focus on projects within Iplicit, looking at the challenges for projects-based businesses. But of course, if you do need to revisit anything that's already been covered on this webinar series, please do let us know and we will be happy to distribute those. So just a bit of an agenda for today's session then. We'll start off with a little bit of an introduction to Iplicit, just reintroducing Iplicit as a business, where they came from, where they sit within the marketplace. We'll then go on to look at challenges for project-based businesses. So probably current challenges that I suppose many of who are on the webinar this afternoon that are facing. So we'll look at some of those based on our experience of working with similar organisations. We'll then look at Iplicit's capabilities in terms of looking to overcome some of those hurdles and some of those challenges for project-based businesses. And then that will come into life as we go on to the live demonstration. And that's when Rory will come in and have a real look around the system and start to show some of those capabilities in action. We'll also have a Q&A at the end of the session, so please do, if you've got any questions whatsoever as we go through the webinar this afternoon, please do use the chat facility that's within Zoom, and myself and Rory will do our very, very best to answer any of those questions that come in. So if there's any questions at all, please do pop them into the chat, and my colleague Sophie, who's on the call, will look after those, and we'll get those answered at the end of the session. So as I say, we'll start with an introduction then to Iplicit and introduce who Iplicit are and where they came from and the gap that they look to serve within the software market. So Iplicit was actually born in 2019, but it was a brainwave way before that. And it's been built on 30 plus years of industry experience. Some of the team at Exchequer, who some on the call today may know of, a very, very successful on-premise solution, really saw a gap in the market, and we'll get onto the gap and where Iplicit looks to serve in terms of where it sits within the software market, in terms of where it sits within the finance systems that are out there. But essentially they found the gap where there was businesses maybe using starter solutions, they were maybe using on-premise solutions, and they didn't have that next avenue to go. It was you either went to a massive ERP system or you stuck with what you had. So Iplicit looks to serve that kind of mid-market in terms of giving you enterprise level functionality without the cost. And as I say, we'll get onto a slide of its own in a wee second. But in terms of how Iplicit's grown over the last few years, as I say, it started in 2019, but it's really grown since then. So we've now got over 3,000 organisations in the UK here using Iplicit, and that's actually over 100 countries in terms of UK-based businesses that may operate in different countries. So, for example, for a projects-based business that's based here in the UK that we service, they do work in China. There are people putting timesheets over in China, Germany, France, So it's actually been utilised in lots of different countries. But crucially, the software has been built here in the UK, developed here in the UK for UK-based businesses, and they've now got over 40,000 daily users of Iplicit. So it's really grown in that 5, 6 years that it's been around in the marketplace. So really starting to make waves. At Iplicit themselves, over 150 staff, and they're now starting to add more and more partners onto their network in terms of being able to grow that reach. Us being one of the main partners here in the UK, we'll look at a little bit about Eureka Solutions at the end of the session today, and in terms of how we work with Iplicit. But it's a main strategy for Iplicit to really grow and expand into new horizons. And it's not just ourselves, it's not just Iplicit that will preach how good the software is. You can see there with some of the awards that Iplicit have won in the short space of time that they've been going as in this market as an organisation, won lots of awards, and especially awards within the accounting world. So you can see there Accounting Web Awards have won a couple of times, they've won Accountancy Excellence Awards, and they're also in the top 50 fastest growing businesses from Deloitte as well. So a business that really is propelling forward and starting to make waves within the market. But we spoke about a little bit where Iplicit's positioned, and it's probably quite an important point to mention in terms of where it sits within the market and where Iplicit themselves and us as a partner position Iplicit is where it fits within the market. So what we traditionally see is we see a lot of businesses, and I dare say there's some on the session today who are maybe using smaller, maybe starter solutions, maybe the likes of Sage 50, which are great solutions for a certain size of business. That's why we tend to see a lot of businesses staying on them so long. They are typically lower cost, they're typically lower complexity in terms of maintaining, and they are little to no implementation work involved. What we tend to see though is, especially when it comes to projects, which we'll get on to, you can start to outgrow the solution pretty quickly. That could be in terms of the number of transactions going through the system, that could be the complexity that's needed, projects being a good example of that, being able to manage projects effectively, and just the business growing and needs changing. So that's your kind of the left-hand side. They're the smaller starter solutions that we tend to see a lot of the organisations moving to Iplicit from. At the other end of the spectrum, you get more enterprise level ERP systems. So these are typically higher cost in terms of time, in terms of the monetary value, and a bit more higher complexity as well. So with that will come a lengthier implementation, so maybe an extended time to value, and a bit more complexity in terms of just the setup of the system. It will need more people, more time, more heads, and it will just need a lot more in terms of the whole reach of the organisation to be able to get the return on investment that you have to put forward for these systems. So what Iplicit and ourselves here at Eureka found that there was this gap in the market, that something had to be done. So there was a need for enterprise level functionality, so being able to do more than what you can do in some of these starter solutions, but at a more consumable price and a more consumable kind of implementation time that's not going to take years of implementation time, years of the team's time. It's going to be a bit more streamlined, but you can still get really good results at the end. And that's exactly where Iplicit looks to position itself. Given you the enterprise level functionality, we will look at that positioned on projects today, but we've looked at that across different business areas across this webinar series, but at a more consumable price point. Not on average, it's around about 16 to 20 days to implement Iplicit from start to finish, which is certainly a lot less than what you might see from some of the bigger enterprise ERP systems that are out there. So looking now more at what we're here for today in terms of project-based businesses. Now, that could go across many different organisations and many different verticals. So I know we've got some charities that are on with us today. It could be software-based businesses like ourselves who deal with projects. It could be theatres who are running shows. We see it across a wide-ranging verticals within the market. But the business challenges that they face are normally the same when it comes to projects. So whether it be reporting, which is always a massive challenge across the business, but from a project point of view, can be particularly so. So being able to run P&Ls by project, income and expenditure by project, trial balance by project, and just getting the basic project level information out of systems can be difficult if you've not got the right tools in place. It may be limited visibility of documents, whether that be purchase orders, or it be invoices, or it be project-based documentation. We tend to find that is slightly scattergun when it's not being used on an appropriate system. Another big one that we always hear from project-based businesses is being able to upload timesheets, upload expenses. That can be a real pain for an organisation that haven't got the tools in place to do so. That might be just done via Word documents, it might be done via emails, it might be done via spreadsheets, and it's not all joined together within the finance system. So there's lots of challenges that we face. I've pointed out some of them there, and probably one of the main ones as well, just to touch on, is just being able to put your transactions towards projects, so you can accurately record your costs and then accurately record the revenue that a project's making. So these are just some of the challenges that we've seen highlighted over our experience of working with project-based businesses. And as I say, that is across many different verticals. As I say, mentioned charities, mentioned software companies, but those challenges probably should resonate with most. So in terms of then how does Iplicit look to overcome some of those challenges? And as we'll hopefully see in the webinar this afternoon that Rory will show, this will come to life a little bit more. But I'll touch through some of the capabilities that Iplicit has before we jump in to look at the software. First thing I'll take you to is just some of the comments made there from Bailygom, who's one of the project's users on Iplicit currently, and they fully utilise projects module. They came from a starter solution. We're struggling with some of the challenges that we just highlighted, and we can see there what have been said, being able to allocate the costs in real time and then see real time analysis of how the project's going from a financial point of view has really helped them. And that's something they really struggled with before moving to Iplicit. So within the software, as we'll see, we'll have real-time cost, revenue, and budget control. So any transaction that we put into the system will go automatically against that project, which then in turn will show you that project level analysis and reporting. Everything's in real time. So as we post to the project, everything will be constantly updated from a reporting point of view. So Rory will show some of the reporting capabilities and how easy it is to get transactions into the system tagged with a project. Timesheets and expenses and allocating them to projects all can be done within Iplicit. Can be done through Iplicit desktop, as Rory will show. There's also a lovely app that users can do that through, and those users don't need to be finance users. Invariably, it's not a finance user that's going to be popping in an expense or a timesheet. They're doing that so they can get while it could be getting their money back, it could be just so they're following company process. So this will put everything into the one system and make sure that timesheets and expenses are allocated to projects effectively and properly. We've also got there, we can do it across multiple entities. As we said in some of the previous webinars that we looked at for Iplicit, it's a full multi-entity system, so you can run projects for different companies all within the one Iplicit system. Everything can be streamlined and then we can consolidate at the end. So that's just some of Iplicit's project accounting capabilities. But as I say, that will come to life as we get into the demonstration. And as a real good segue into that, I'll pass over to Rory, who will take us into the platform, will take us into the product, and take us through some of the project functionality within Iplicit.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tom, for the introduction there. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Rory MacCann. I'm a solutions consultant here at Eureka Solutions. And as Tom said, I will be showing off the software today. So if we just jump into the web browser, I'll just close them down so I can actually see what I'm doing. Here we've got the Iplicit homepage. It's available on all major web browsers, so you can log in at any time, anywhere. As Tom also mentioned, there is also the app. I'll be signing in as myself today. As you can see down there, there is the single sign-on. You can also have multi-factor authentication. I know we here at Eureka use an app on our phone that gives us a code. So depending on what you use, you can attach that onto iPlicit. Now, just before I go in and show off the software, I'll give you a quick rundown of what I'll be showing today. I'll quickly explain the different ways to get around iPlicit. And then after that, I'll go into what you see here, which is the project ledger, give you a breakdown of how that works and the different documents that can be attached to each individual project to really go back and show that there's no kind of limitation when it comes to visibility of documents in iPlicit. From there, I'll show you how easy it is to attach expenses and purchase orders to projects. Um, Show you some of the kind of the flow of how things go through iPlicit and go through the different stages that your kind of business may need. From there, I'll show the timesheets and how they can link to the authorization workflows that are created in iPlicit. And then to finish off, I'll show off the project accounting and reporting capabilities that iPlicit has. So I'll just show you up here. You've got the tabs where you can get into the different sections of iPlicit. So if you go to purchases, you can get to purchase orders, you go to projects, you can see your projects. You also have the search bar here where you can get to anywhere in the in iPlicit. So you can see here you can get to your invoices, your orders just by searching up. There is also the option up here. If you click on the iPlicit logo, you can see the pulse menu. This is the exact same way to get around. It's just in a different format. So you can choose whatever you please. Today I've set it up so that when I log in, it automatically displays our project ledger. But if you prefer, you can also have it set up to show your dashboards with anything that is relevant, or you can just get to show your purchase and your profit and loss. Sorry. So we'll just show off here. You can see the different subgroups of projects here. And now one of the great things about the project modules in iPlicit is that you can have unlimited levels of parent-child relationships. So I've got the, in this case, grandparent uh, project of the marketing campaign. And then I've broken that down to blog posts, which then from there has the child relationship of the separate blog posts. And if you wanted to, you could go even further with that and have phase one of the creative side of creating the blog post, to phase two, the writing side, to phase three, the editing side, and phase four, the distribution side, whatever level of detail you need to go down into. You can also attach any number of documents to projects in iPlicit. So if you just click on the file here, you can attach anything from receipts to invoices. In this case, you could even attach the blog. So you can view it directly inside iPlicit. You can drag emails over, anything that has a file on your computer, you can drag it over. If we just drill down into this project here, you can see all that information that you could see on the main project ledger. You can see the legal entity it's attached to. You can see that I've assigned myself as the project manager for today. And down here, you can see the resources. Now, the resources are the different people that have been allocated to this project. So if they're not assigned to this project, they won't be able to view it. They won't have the option to go into it, keeping your information just that little bit more secure. Now, talking about the document visibility, you've got a tab right here called Documents, and it has every single document that is related to this project. Now, as you can see, it's all things that have been paid and invoiced. That's because the GL box here has been ticked, meaning that it's only showing documents that have been posted to the GL. However, if you untick that, you can see all the purchase orders, requisitions, sales orders, even rejected expenses that were assigned to this project. Then from there, you're able to see that the purchase orders and sales orders have their own tab, allowing you to have that instant information about what's been kind of committed, what you're waiting to receive, what you're waiting to pay for. And as I mentioned, there's the product accounting and reporting capabilities. I'll come back to that at the end of the webinar. So, firstly, I'm going to jump into the purchase orders. So I'll just use the tabs up the top here and I'll jump into purchase orders. Now it's very user friendly and very simple to create a purchase order and assign it to a project. So let's say we're creating this blog and we're printing it out and we want to be able to hand it out as a physical piece of paper. So let's select a supplier that will give us paper and you select a specific account code that would attach to this so that when it's posted, it all goes to the correct place. For this specific account code, you can see that the department and the cost center are mandatory fields. So obviously today, since it's a blog, we'll be joining it to the marketing department. And the cost center can be anything that you need it to be. All of these up here are also, unless required, totally editable. So if you don't need to have a product in there, you can open up that cog down the bottom there, click on it, and then it's gone. Really easy to use, so you can get all the information that you need. Let's say that we're getting 1,000 pieces of paper and we'll do it for £1 each. Let's say we're scamming ourselves. So now that all the mandatory fields have been filled in, you can see that the cross at the top, submit, has gone. So you can now submit this. And once that loads, sometimes the Wi-Fi in this room can be a bit questionable. You'll be able to go back into your projects, go to your purchase orders, hit refresh, just click up there. There you are. There you're able to see it there with the tax attached to it. It's 1,200. Now, I've I've realized my mistake there. We can hit amend. The one thing I needed to do is assign it to the project. All you have to do there is hit edit. So if there's a mistake that's made and you can't see it, it's as simple as going into amending the purchase order and you can change it so that the project can be attached. Now, since I'm the project manager for this, I have access to attach it to the purchase order. However, if you're not attached to the project, you won't be able to use it and submit things alongside it. Now, if we just submit that again, hit refresh, go to our blog posts, there you are. You can see it there. From there, you can see the purchase order and the documents. Then also, if you go to the committed trial balance and look at here at the supplier from this account, you can see this is underlined. And if you click on this, you can see that purchase order that we've just put through. Now from here, one of the best features of Iplicit is if you hold down your control key, you can see that everything here has got underlined. What that means is you can drill down into the information and directly open it up. So let's say from here, you're wanting to email out the purchase order to your supplier, or say you've already got the goods and you need to get your goods received note. In this instance, I'll just be invoicing it as if we've received it. So once you hit invoice, it takes all that information that it's got from the purchase order. As you can see, it's matched there. And that means all you need to do is put in the invoice number that you've received from your supplier. So I'll just put in some digits there. And you can hit submit. And as that's been submitted, you can have a workflow authorization in place to ensure that nothing goes askew. You could even have an authorization to go through and reject, say, if you forgot to attach a project to it, like I just did. But if we come back here and see this, we've got the order invoice. We hit refreshed. You'll see that that number changes to match. So you can see that it's automatically updating your uh, committed trial balance as soon as things are being submitted. So that's the process for the purchase order being attached. I'm now going to move on to the expenses. There is two separate ways you can input expenses onto Iplicit. the first way would be through the HR tab up here at the top. You can see that it's expenses. Now, the only difference between this and the other way, which is going through the My tab, is that for the HR, if you have a user that may not be needing a full license on Iplicit, you can have it set up so that someone else can submit an expense for them. So in this instance, I'll just be doing an expense for myself. We'll hit new and we'll go into personal. Now, it's the same idea as the purchase order. You can assign the information from the project straight from this line here. Click down into it, select what is a implicit blog post. And let's say you had your blog post and you wanted to get it out at a networking event and you needed to fly down. So let's do flights to the networking event, and let's do the day's date of the 29th and 7th. So you can go down into your expense products and you can have any number of these set up that you need. For today, we'll be selecting the flights. And you can put in the price here. So let's say that it was 1,500 for the flights to wherever it was I was going. Then if you hit submit, that'll go through an authorization workflow that's been set up so that nothing can slip through the gaps and get paid unnecessarily. Up here again, you can see the files so that if you're putting in an expense, you can attach your receipt directly to the record. If you hit submit there, since it's over a certain amount, it will need to be authorized. If we hit reload up here, you'll see this number change from 1 to 2. There we go. So if we click on that, you'll see the information here of the authorization request. You can jump into that and have a look at all the information here. Now, if I was looking at this and was going to approve a payment for 1,500, I'd immediately be looking to see if there's a receipt attached, which there's not. So that'll be getting rejected. And as you reject it, it's been set up that you need to give a reason why it's been rejected. So we'll just say there's no attachment. Now apply, and then very shortly that'll come back and give me a notification saying my expense has been rejected, as you can see. Now you may be wondering, can you stop someone from approving their own expenses? Of course, it's the click of one button, ensuring that no requester can also be authorizer. However, for today's webinar, I have not selected that, so I can show it off in the system. Now, allocating that expense was very easy. As you can see, if you come here to the GL and refresh it, as I mentioned earlier, you can see flights to the networking event. It's as simple as that. And you can see here it's been rejected. You can hold down Control and see why it's been rejected, and then you can edit it and maybe add your attachment and get your expense paid off. So that's the expenses and purchase orders and Iplicit being attached to projects. We're now going to jump in and show the timesheets. So for the sake of that, I'm going to sign into a different account, which I've got up here. So I'm going to sign in as Tim Gray. As you can see, Tim Gray up here. And obviously the first thing you'll notice about this page is a very different view. It's a much more restricted view. It's not got the full user access to see all that information. So Tim here has been set up as a timesheet and expense user. So all he can do is input timesheets and expenses. So as if you click onto the timesheets tab up the top here, you'll notice that he's already selected put a few timesheets in there. And if we go back to our main account and look at the timesheets here, you'll be able to see that Tim Gray has already assigned 133 hours of his time to writing the blog. Well, let's say he's still got a bit more work to do. Say he forgot to add in some time back from April. You'll see there it goes from week from to week 2. And we'll hit apply. That'll create the timesheet. And you just need to add in a line and put in the information of the hours worked. So let's say again, he was writing his blog as the timesheet product. These can be created and edited as you need. Now this will automatically require you to insert a project. And obviously for the sake of today, I'll be using the what at Iplicit, and that has taken the information and knowing that the customer is us here at Eureka Solutions. So I'll just apply there, and it gives you the options to input the times for the different days. So for this um, action of writing blog, it's been set up to be charged hourly. However, if that's not how your business works, whether it gets charged by day, by minute, all the way up to annually, you can change it that way. And again, if this timesheet you can just put in. So say you worked 7 hours on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, took Thursday off, and did a half day on Friday. You can select that these be that these have been invoiced. So say if someone's paying for something all up front, or if you're charging as you go, you can create invoices from the timesheets. So we'll just select that to be submitted. If we hit refresh here, you'll see you've got a small orange dot because that needs to be approved. There's an authorization workflow in place to ensure that timesheets aren't just automatically accepted. Just hit refresh here. There you are. There's the one up there. Click into that, and you can have a look at all the information that's been dragged through. Again, you can add attachments, you can add notes that can be viewed by anyone that will be authorizing this. This can even be sent out to your customer. So say it was a different scenario where Tim was doing some on-site training or they were at a specific location for a certain amount of time. This can be sent to the person they were training and they can approve that Tim was there for that amount of time. So I know Tim was working those days, so we'll hit approve and then we'll hit authorize. And now the timesheet says not found because we no longer have permission to view it because it's Tim's timesheet, not ours. Hit refresh, and that becomes a green tick. Now, if we jump back into the projects, you're able to see Tim's time. Hopefully, it should have updated. Oh, there you are. It's gone up to 157. So it's added that 24 and a half hours, I believe it was, onto that. Then you can have all the information breakdown of the weeks the work has gone through, the time spent on it. You can also click onto these lines and drill down into it. So if we go to the one we just input there, you're able to see each day and that breakdown of the time spent. So you can see the 3.5 on the Friday to the 7 from the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's the timesheets in relation to the authorization workflow. Just give me a second to get a drink of water. I don't know how Tom does it. He can talk for Scotland. So just before I finish up and hand it back to Tom, I'm going to show off the project accounting and reporting capabilities of Iplicit. It's one of the most important parts of any project module, and Iplicit does it very well. As you can see here, I quickly showed off the time committed trial balance, sorry. All this information again can be edited to your needs with the cog here, so you can maybe split it by month or add in additional information as needed. You can drill down into this information and see where the kind of costs are coming from, or the where you're spending your money and where it's coming across. You can export this to Excel as well. You can export the majority of things to Excel. You can also come into here and see the profit and loss for this specific project. So got all your information here. It can be broken down into your expenses here as well. Obviously, this hasn't changed since my expense was ejected for not having a receipt attached to it. But then again, you've got with different account codes, you can see for different amounts. So who spent £12.50 with the bagel guys? You come in and see, again, that was me. You can hold down control, drill into that purchase invoice, see all that information, see how it's attached. Jump back over here. You've also just got the trial balance here, which can be edited by separate accounts, by different days, by periods, even by the currency if you're doing multi-currency systems, which Iplicit handles with no problem. Again, all this information is drillable. You can see where the prices are coming from and what it's related to. So you can see that there. Prince versus the handout. So one last thing I'll show you before handing back to Tom. If we go back to the project tabs up the top here, and we select the project by profit and loss. So that project profit and loss I was showing there was just specifically for that project. But up here at the top, you can see your profit and loss for all your projects. So how they're related and that different level analysis is really what Iplicit can offer you. You can see all the different blog posts here. You can get the webinar here, got the generalized marketing campaign here. So anything that was attached to that that might have not been specifically related to your blog posts, you can click into that and see what it's relating to. You can drill down into these as well. There's lots of information you can get from Iplicit, and as the tagline is, it's unlimited levels of analysis when it comes to the general ledger. You can really kind of slice and dice all that information as you wish and what your business requires. So that's going to be me for the software side of things. So I'm going to hand it back to Tom so he can tell you a little bit about us here at Eureka Solutions.
Well, thank you, Rory, for the really good demonstration. And of course, if you want to go through any further further functionality, or you want to take things further from a demo point of view, we are certainly more than happy to go through that in a bit more detail and go through your specific requirements. But hopefully that's given a good idea of what Iplicit can do from a project's point of view. Say we just scratched the surface there with some of the functionality, and I think we touched on some of those challenges that we spoke of at the beginning in terms of being able to easily input your timesheets and expenses that Rory showed, and that was only one part of it. We didn't even show the app, which we can certainly take on to a further session. We showed the reporting and how easy it is to get project-based reports at a click of a button. Everything's in real time. Being able to see your profitability, being able to see your costs against projects at fingertips. So hopefully that's given a good indication of what Iplicit can do from a project's point of view, and how we can overcome some of those challenges that we talked about in the beginning when we talked about some of the challenges that we've seen from other projects-based businesses that we've spoken to in the past. And Rory says, we'll just go into a little bit about Eureka Solution just before we finish off, just to introduce ourselves and why we're here and why we're doing the webinar today. So we've actually just recently celebrated our 20th anniversary, which is mad to think. So just last year we celebrated that. So we've been doing this a long time. We provide implementation, development and support for Iplicit and other solutions as well. So we've got a really seasoned team in terms of being able to implement cloud business solutions. Founded on two key founding principles that underpins the business. Those are technical expertise and customer service. The two really go hand in hand. So we can't deliver outstanding customer service without being technically astute. Most of I think we're over 80 staff now for the staff numbers that we've got, and most are in technical roles. So the likes of Rory, who's just done a great job of the demonstration aspect there and the solution consultant role, even the likes of myself, being on the support team, being on an implementation team. So the majority of our staff have been through the technical phase, which allows us to provide that outstanding customer service. And that's really typified. You can see at the bottom middle of the screen there, the customer sure rating. So we're sitting at 9.7 out of 10. What does that actually mean in practice? Essentially, any time our support team closes any case, whether it be Iplicit or any other solution we provide, customers given a feedback form that they're invited to fill in. That asks them about how well we dealt with a problem, how well we understood the problem, and how good was the service overall. So we're sitting at 9.7 out of 10 at the moment, so extremely good score, and that's with over 8,000 reviews, and all the reviews are on the website for you to have a look at to see what our customers are saying. So really welcome you to go on and have a look at that. As well as implementing Iplicit and being able to support Iplicit, we've also got our own integration tool, Basincly. So if I ask Rory to pop onto the next slide, I can introduce Basincly a little bit more. So essentially, any time that we do an implementation of Iplicit or any solution, we always find integration is something that we speak about, becomes more and more prevalent as the years went on. So we have built our own integration platform, which is called Recently. Essentially, it will sit between Iplicit, it will sit between Iplicit and any third-party system that you have. So it may be a CRM system, it may be a full project management system, it may be an e-commerce platform, maybe a fundraising platform for any charities on the session today. It can be anything. So essentially, if it's got an API or if it's got a means to do any file integration, then Recently can sit between Iplicit and that third-party system, just allowing that integration between the systems, and eliminates the challenge of having disparate systems that don't talk to each other, and you end up doing things 2, 3, 4 times, which can lead to errors, time wasted, amongst others. So essentially, we think we can sit between the two and allow that seamless integration. So hopefully that's given a bit of a background to one, Iplicit, two, Eureka Solutions, a bit about Recently, and giving you a flavour for projects-based businesses.